So when I sat down to initially make this video, I was going to talk about how I don't really think the Series S is worth the money. Not necessarily the regular old Series S that you can buy multiple places now for less than 200 bucks, but the all carbon edition 1TB Series S. The price of that console feels a little more premium than maybe I think it should be. Now, on one hand, I can understand the sentiment of not just having enough money, and that's something that all of us face, and it is a very valid reason to go for the cheaper console. But when you really look at the full picture, and in most states, of course, at least in the United States here, there's taxes. And when you look at the price of the Series S 1TB model after taxes, you're coming up very close on something like the PS4 digital edition. Or furthermore, you're not too far away from a Series X. And I sat down, again, initially thinking that that's what I was going to talk about, was I was going to bag on the fact that the Series S 1TB is not really worth it to majority of people. I understand why it exists, but at the same time, I feel like you'd be better off buying a Series S, regular 512 gigabyte model for 150 bucks pre-owned or used, secondhand, and then go ahead and just pick up a, hard drive or one of those expansion cards down the line, right? We're starting to see Seagate and Western Digital are both in the game, and I'm sure more manufacturers are to come, so those expansion cards should get cheaper as time goes on. But then a little thing happened. The Activision Blizzard deal went through, and this is kind of changing my perspective on it. Now, I felt and I believed that it was going to go through. I was really hoped it was going to go through. I'm really excited to have those games come to Xbox or specifically Game Pass. And well, that's kind of the whole point now here, isn't it? Because I'm not necessarily excited to play these games on my Xbox per se. I'm more excited to have these games on my Game Pass subscription, because somebody like me, I have a PlayStation 3, I have a lot of older consoles, and I have all the old Call of Duty games. So I can play them, pop them in anytime, free of charge, right? PS3, don't have to pay for online. There's something fun about being able to play it on a modern console, and furthermore, I think that the community is just bigger, because now it coming to a subscription service, right, that's going to be millions of people that will have access to these games again, and that novelty may wear off in the future, but it's going to revitalize those communities when it comes to, specifically Call of Duty, for example. And that's not to mention the hundreds of other titles and IPs and stuff that, this deal comes with. And the more I started thinking about how excited I was for Call of Duty to come to Game Pass and all these other games, the more I realized that the Series S, while it is, in my opinion, I still think the 1TB version is overpriced. I understand why somebody would maybe not want to hold out to get the Series X, or maybe they don't really care. Maybe they just have a few titles that they're going to play, or maybe they're just going to use it to access Game Pass. Now, I do think that if you care about resolution, the better graphic fidelity, and, frame rates and such, then the Series X is still very much for you. And I still urge everybody to just get a Series X. I don't think there really is a reason to get a Series S outside of just money. That's really, I think, what it comes down to. Now, alternatively, I guess if you do have a PS5 or a PC or something like that, then the Series S makes us an excellent secondary console. But I think on its own as a standalone device, again, it just doesn't really make sense. Unless you're an extremely casual gamer, maybe you have something like a Switch Lite and a Series S, that's a really amazing pair of consoles to have, and it's very cheap, and it has an expansive library to dig into with more to come, obviously. But anyway, I guess to kind of wrap this up and get to the main point here, yeah, this whole Game Pass thing, the whole Xbox, Series X versus S, which one's better, they're both fantastic in their own rights. And, even though I think that the S in itself isn't for everybody anymore. A couple of years ago, when I first started making videos about this, I was preaching all day long about the Series S and Game Pass, and everybody should try it, everybody should get it. And I still think that's true. I just don't think the Series S is necessarily the way to go. I really do believe that the X is the better buy. But again, when you think about the direction Xbox is going, the console is no longer the platform. And that's a weird thing to get my head around. And I think coming to terms with that is helping a ton in realizing that, you know, yeah, the Series S 1 terabyte, a little bit expensive, cool that it's coming in that carbon color, you know, but at the end of the day, what really matters is that you secure an Xbox to access that subscription service, and that is now the platform. The platform is Game Pass, and your choice between console, PC, or cloud is just the method you use to access that platform. Versus PlayStation, for example, you know, the games are on one place. You have to buy a PS5 if you want to access what's coming up for PlayStation or, you know, PS4, whatever. And while they do release games to PS Plus Extra or Premium, and they do release games on PC, that is secondary. Those are not day and date. That is not a alternative or supplemental to owning a PS5. If you want to access the best of the best from Sony day one, you're gonna buy a PlayStation 5. But Xbox says no. You don't have to. You can play day one on your PC. You can play day one on your iPhone or your Samsung or your, you know, I mean, smart TV even, right? Many devices, basically, if they have access to the internet, are now an Xbox console. And I think that is, one, very cool. But two, I think that increases the value proposition of the Series S, because now it's not, you're not necessarily comparing the Series S, you know, regular or 1 terabyte, whichever, either model. You're not comparing that to the Series X on its own anymore. Now you're comparing it to your Samsung Smart TV, your iPhone, your iMac, your laptop, your PC. Like, you're comparing it to all these other devices that could just be streaming the game, right? So somebody who says, hey, I've been trying out xCloud on my phone for a little bit, but I want to have a more native experience because some bigger games are coming out. Again, Series S, the way to go. And the only thing stopping you is either money or maybe just the realization that you're not going to play it all too much, or you're only going to get it for a few select games. But yeah, so if you're interested in getting an Xbox Series S or an X, I don't think you should worry too much. And there's a lot of people on YouTube that have been, you know, kind of preaching that the S is the way to go and you shouldn't worry about the X. And I initially was on the other side of that coin, but I think I kind of realized that the reality is, as long as you're playing Xbox, as long as you are, you know, ideally, at least from Xbox's perspective, as long as you're subscribed to Game Pass, they don't care what you're playing on, as long as you're playing. And obviously that's a very, you know, vanilla cupcake and sprinkles sort of statement to have. They are a business. They want you to spend your money on them, but, you know, at least the way they're getting you to spend your money, or the way they are incentivizing you to do that, is very beneficial. It is very consumer friendly. So I guess that's really all I have to say about that. If you have anything to add, or maybe your own opinions on this, I would love to discuss this in the comments below. Click a like if you enjoyed the video, and consider subscribing. I do upload every Monday, and I'm going to start uploading on Wednesdays as well. And then every Friday I have a live stream where we talk about the news of that week and hang out, play some games together, and just kind of have a good time. So if that's something you're interested in, now's a better time more than any to join in and have some fun. Anyway, my name is Daniel, and I'll catch you in the next one.